Just a quick video, honestly, just a quick little thought that was passing me by, but what is with people wanting to do 10 words or 5 words in Anki a day and somehow thinking they're going to become fluent in Japanese? It's honestly starting to piss me off a bit. Like, what are you talking about? 10 words a day? Are you serious? Like, what? So you need to know like 10 to 20,000 words to fully understand Japanese at a fluent sort of level of it, and you're telling me you're going to do 10 words a day? How long is that going to take you? Do you want to study Japanese for 20 years? Like, what's the goal here? If you actually want to get to a decent level in a like reasonable amount of time, 10 words just isn't going to cut it, buddy. You're going to need to be doing 20, 30, 40, 50 words a day at least to be getting to hitting those marks, you know? Otherwise, you're just lacking behind. I always talk about with learning a language, you got to have a strong base to build a strong mental model to be able to output at a strong level. But you can't just give up on the base and just listen all day and somehow magically like a 10-year-old, not even 10-year-old, like a 2-year-old baby, you're going to absorb the language. Like, do you honestly believe that's going to work? You need to lock in, build up the base, and manage the Anki. Like, here's a bit of a good measure of to know if you're doing enough Anki or not. You know, obviously you got to have at least 2, 3, whatever hours to study Japanese a day. If you don't, you just kind of, you know, what are you doing here? But you need to be like, look at your retention rate in your Anki to know if you're adding enough words a day. If you've got 80%, 90%, 100% retention, you should be adding way more words a day. Up it, you know? But if you've got 60% retention, okay, now it's time to lower it. So if you're adding 10 words a day and you've got 60% retention, okay, fair enough. But I would say, unless you've got CTE or something, and that's me talking, fighting every day, you know, and I'm doing 50 words a day, come on. Like, if you got 60% retention on 10 words a day, you probably need to reassess how you're making these cards. Have a look at how you're doing it, look at my other videos, whatever, but they're probably not optimal cards if you got that much retention a day. Or, like, when are you doing them? You're doing them while you're half asleep at night, or are you doing them fresh in the morning where you're, you know, awake after you've sort of woken up a bit? You got to look at these sort of external factors then at that point. But if you've got 80% retention, add more per day. Unless you get to the point where you got like 10,000 words in your Anki. If you're sitting there with 2,000, 1,000 words in your Anki and you're talking about, oh, I need to maximize my immersion, mate, turn on the subtitles of a video and tell me how many words you can read. What are you even trying to understand? You have no potential to understand it. No matter how much you listen, immersion's not going to magically, like, this isn't a magic trick, bro. This is language learning. It's just learning in general. There's no some mystical power of immersion. It has its place, yeah, it's super powerful, but let's not get all caught up in all this bullshit, yeah? So lock in, use your brain a bit, and think, if I can't even read the subtitles on this video, how am I supposed to magically understand it by listening to it enough? Like, there's a limit, right? So build up your base in the language, max out on that Anki, do a heap of it, and then come back and immerse a heap as well, or do them both simultaneously. That's the beauty of doing passive immersion, where you kind of focus in 20 seconds, a minute here and there. It adds up. By the end of the day, you've done an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of immersion in those little in-between spots. And then the time where you're sitting down, especially in the early stages, you can just be maxing out on your Anki and building that base in the language without wasting your time. Like, this is another thing that pisses me off, right? You see people watching like extremely complex topics, like they're looking at like tariffs the US is imposing, or like war in Iran, or like some crazy stuff going on in the world, and you're still learning like, I like to eat apples in your Anki. Like, bro, what are we doing here? Like, are you going to be able to magically understand these complex topics, or you're watching, like, reading, like, you know, trying to read, like, the New York Stock Exchange kind of shit in Japanese? Like, what are we doing, guys? If you're learning your Anki in basic everyday things, watch that. At least, at the very least, you've got an opportunity to, like, maybe become to understand that. But unless you, like, can read the subtitles and understand, like, say, 80% of it, come on. Like, what are you listening for? Like, maybe 50% of it, 80% of it could even be a bit extreme. But unless you can see that you could understand a substantial amount of it, what's the point? Remember, it's comprehensible immersion. It's not just random willy-nilly immersion and random shit. So now some practical advice. Now I'm done ranting a bit. You need to get, like, right at the start, max add as many words as you can based on your retention rate, like I just mentioned, and how much time you've got in the day. And until you get to, say, I'd say about 4,000 or 5,000 words, just max add as many as you can a day. I don't even really care about the active immersion that much. The passive immersion makes up for it, the way that I said. And then just, you know, once you've hit about that 4,000 or 5,000 mark, watch some average sort of like Hikaru, like random YouTube videos and feel it. Like, maybe check the subtitles, see how many words and stuff you know. If you find you know almost all the words, but you can't pick up on it listening wise, that's when you really got to lock in on the listening and max that out. And I'd say you could do these at the same time, right? Slowly build up your base, like on those 10 cards a day, but then also actively immersing. But it's just, I find it doesn't give you as much bang for your buck. I'd rather focus in on one thing at a time and lock in on that and get the most out of that. So do that once you get 4,000 or 5,000 words, listen a shit ton from that point, and maybe maintain on a 5 to 10 card basis, like new card basis on your Anki. And then from there, then you can go back, once you've started to like understand way more of your active immersion, then you can go back to the Anki grind and get it to like 10,000, 15,000, and find the limits of your base, feel that limit, and then go back and build that up. So for me, for instance, I got my base to a point where I could understand absolutely everything, and only now I'm starting to feel the limits of it when I'm trying to go and like make videos in Japanese, or I'm trying to like talk about more complex topics. Like I'm doing a lot on businesses and stuff like that. I'm trying to talk to my friends about how I built my businesses, or, you know, communicating with suppliers and stuff, how I communicated with suppliers to like order this in and I've got this amount of inventory or whatever. More business stuff, talking about investing, politics, things like that. I'm starting to feel the limits of my base. I'm talking like an idiot when I'm trying to talk about these topics. So I'm like, okay, now I need to go back, up my vocab, learn more words, read more maybe even, and then, but even if I go to read, I don't know all these more complex words when I read more complex sources. So I've got to up the base of my language and get those more complex words, then read them, listening to them, like listen to more complex topics, and then output them in my, you know, output. So build the base up, build the mental model, and then build the output ability. Pretty much that's what I've been doing. So there's, you know, some basic tips. If you want more in-depth stuff though, click the link down in the description to go to my school. I got way more on there now. Anki decks, Anki add-ons, everything, like anything you could want. Course videos, Q&As, everything. I'm still putting stuff out here on YouTube, my Instagram, but for the more in-depth stuff, because I actually spend like hours a day on it, I've got it in the school now. So go check that out if you're interested, but otherwise hope you take a bit from this video.